Good evening, and welcome to the ISD 191 School Board meeting. Tonight is March 14th, 2019, and the time is 6:30. I'd like to start by welcoming our audience, folks that have joined us in person, as well as those that are choosing to watch at home on this rainy night. Completely understand wanting to stay home. With that, Director Courier, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start by approving tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Schatz. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Chester. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. I'd like to start by inviting Principal Rob to the podium. We are going to receive a report on Ron Elementary, as well as Ms. Lucius. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Alt, and thank you, directors. Really appreciate the opportunity to share the great things about Ron. Thank you, Superintendent Amoroso, as well, for allowing this opportunity. So, my name is Brad Robb, principal of Ron Elementary, and this is my first year as principal there. And this is Rachel Lucius. She is a member of our building leadership team, as well as our music teacher, and has been at Ron for
16 years.
16 years. So we have the privilege to share about the wonderful things about Ron Elementary, and it truly is a really, really cool place. So you can see the makeup of our school and who we are just through the numbers there that are listed. Oh, by the way, feel free to ask any questions along the way, or I'm not sure of the format here, so I'm okay with it.
We'll hold the questions for when you're done.
Okay, very good. As a school, we've developed site improvement goals, as well as every school. And our focus this year has been on reading. And we'll show you the kind of the trend line with our reading here over the past 3 years. But last year, we were at 55.2 proficient in 2018, and our goal this year is to increase to 58.2% proficient. The 3% increase is a recommendation for most schools moving forward. Then, more specifically for our school, we went further down and have worked on supporting our students who are learning English as a second language. As we reviewed our data, we recognized that this is the group that we'd like to see kind of a bigger jump, and so that's why that group was chosen. So we like make the jump from 41% proficient to 50%. I'm sorry, that's related to our growth targets through the MAP test, the measure of academic progress. As you can see, our data trends here with math, that's a really quite the celebration for us, and you see that large increase between the 2016 2018, 10 percentage points. And then we're pretty flatlined when it comes to reading, which, as you can see, that's why we might have focused on reading this past year. So I want to share a little bit about, we can look at Ron as far as numbers go, but Ron is much more than just numbers. And so we are Ron Elementary School of Arts and Technology, and that's a part of who we are, and Rachel's going to share a little bit more about what that looks like. We have the opportunity to celebrate 50 years next year, and we're very excited about it. We already have a group working to just have a year-long celebration. We have a strong pre-K program, which is really important to us. We have 4 sections of pre-K at Ron, and our staff is very, very tenured. We're also invested quite a bit in the community, and I would say within our school district, Ron staff are community and district leaders.
So I'm trying to think how many years ago it was that we became Ron School of Arts and Technology. 7, 5? 7, yeah, more than 6. But we had the opportunity to become a magnet school, and the idea to become an arts and technology magnet school really came out of who the teachers were and what we were interested in and what we were gifted in. And that has changed a little over the years, but we still have quite a bit of music and arts and technology happening. Some of the things that we do currently are monthly sing-alongs before assemblies. We have a great school news program that has changed leadership and remained just as strong as it was when it started. One of our third grade teachers leads a coding club that is very popular. Really, that's, I would say, one of the places where I see a lot of kids experiencing self-esteem boosts. It's a very cool program. We've had a pretty good history of artist in residence. That was something that Barbara Bohr put a lot of money into when she was there. So our students have had a lot of different experiences with various artists in residence. Our strings program is amazing. I don't know how many of you know Emily Anderson, but I think she can do no wrong. I've sat through a lot of her rehearsals because they happen in my room, and she's wonderful, and she really does a great job with those kids. And we have a strong band program as well with Sonia Langshan, and in the last couple years, we've been doing family field trips, so all school and family field trips to the Minneapolis Institute of Art. And then tonight, right as we are speaking, our families are at our school with our Science, Technology, and Learning Fair.
So we'll be leaving immediately after that to go.
So as Brad said, our staff, I think, is known for being an incredibly close-knit and committed staff. We've always been very dedicated and committed to each other. I think one thing that's been really nice this year is under Brad's leadership, we've sort of revisited building a positive work environment. And part of how he's doing, I mean, we're doing a couple things, but part of what we're doing for staff is focusing on our strengths. We've had a lot of PD sessions using the Strengths Finders, and if you haven't done that, I highly recommend digging into that because it's fascinating and helps you look at yourself in a different way and look at your colleagues in a different way and figuring out why you might work well with some and why other behaviors might frustrate you, and realizing that that's actually a gift that other people have. So we're doing that this year with our staff and hopefully taking that to our students next year to help them see the strengths in themselves. We're also, can I talk about conscious discipline?
That's the next slide, but
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, we're studying conscious discipline, which I think is also adding to the culture and climate, helping us think about how we can help our students in situations when they're struggling rather than punishing them. But no, we have a great culture and climate, and it's something that staff or substitute teachers often comment on when they come in, that it's just noticeable that there's a good feel in our building.
So that work has an impact, and it's not fluff. It's a real, true impact on our school. So we've also revamped. We've started again our work around PBIS, and have also had some PD around that and support. Rachel already covered kind of the work around strengths, but as we look at our Danielson framework for teachers, that aligns with respect and rapport. That's the very first piece of building a strong classroom environment. So how do we translate that strengths? How do we translate what we're doing is building a positive environment, not only in the school, but directly in the classroom. But the real big impact right here, as you can see, is that our office discipline referrals are down from 149 to 49. And I think that's a real testament to the work that our staff are doing of just beginning to better understand our students, creating a safe, calm environment so that kids can flourish, and recognizing that we're human, and that in that human journey, and we have 5-year-olds, right? That we're still learning life. We're still trying to figure out this new place. And so I think that is a great testament to what's working. And we know that when kids are in class and they're not sent to the office, and by the way, we don't send kids to the office. We've changed that model as well. But kids are learning. When they're in the classroom, the kids are learning. So we also recognize, just to point out, citizens and scholars in our classroom, emphasizing that kids are learners and that they are scholars, and that they're contributing members to our school. We recognize that at all of our all-school assemblies every month.
Is this me?
Yep.
We make a big effort at Ron. We're kind of tucked away. Like, if you don't know we're there, you don't know we're there. But our neighborhood is so close to us, so we have made a big effort to connect with our community. Last year, for the first time, we did National Night Out and had a really good turnout for that, just inviting neighborhood people. And I have to say, it's especially important for us being so close to 196. We have a lot of potential, like either we get them or we don't. So I think Ron makes a big effort to try to grab those families. Grand Day was a huge turnout. We had so many people in our school that day. School dance is well attended. Breakfast with a Book was another big one. Family movie night, lots of assemblies, lots of chances to welcome families into our school and see what's going on. I think we try to do a good job of being a welcoming community.
And that's what I discovered when I first came to Ron, and just the feel of it. Like, everyone is super nice and like, hey, who are you? Welcome. We're glad that you're here, and this is for everybody. And so that's extremely important to Ron. One of the things that we're specifically doing, one of my missions this year is because we are so kind of tucked away, and because we truly are about the only school in Eagan, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to connect with Eagan and our Eagan community. And so we've made a lot of strong efforts in doing that, whether it's connecting with our fire department and the Operation Warm, which was amazing, to give all of our pre-K through second graders free coats. Pre-K through first grade, free winter coats. Everyone got a winter coat. As I said, we're celebrating 50 years, and this is 50 years in the Eagan community, as well as 191. And so we're getting the word out here to Eagan. We have a art pop-up event through the city of Eagan that's going to be on November 2nd. And I've met with the city of Eagan multiple times, Parks and Rec, to build some strong connections there. And you can see these other things. Also, we have a strong connection with Peace Church right there off of Nichols Road. And they have a mentoring program where they come in to our school and support our students. They have given so many supplies. It's truly been amazing. But that's one of my efforts this year. My strong hope is that we can connect with Eagan and let them know. I met with the mayor and the city manager and the police chief, and we're doing our best to connect with Eagan. And so
And we had the Vikings out last year.
the Vikings were out last year. Yep.
Another Eagan connection.
So our future work, we're going to continue to focus on reading, continue to monitor our growth. Next year, we've talked as a leadership team, talked about how we can do a lot of work around strong, effective instructional practices in the classroom. We have some amazing leaders within, district leaders that teach the rest of our district right here in Ron. And so how do we support each other and provide some time around that? We're continue our work around conscious discipline. This was more of a learning year, and we'd like to move as a leadership team more towards an implementation and learning year. And then we know that Ron is a great school. It's like a hidden gem, and we want everyone to know about it. So our hope is to grow the size of the school community. That's an effort that we have and we want, because it's really a really cool place. It's our contact information, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
Great. Thank you very much, both. Questions or comments, board members? Director Schatz.
Thank you. I know Run is a great school. It's my neighborhood there, so it's nice to have some representation from E and ES in our school. So, one of your goals or things that you're focusing on was the reading improvement. Do you have specific practices or tactics that you're going to use to increase those reading numbers?
Well, as I said earlier, we're working specifically with our EL population, because that's not just for our EL students, but those are best practices for all students. It's also part of our collaborative teamwork that we meet weekly as we go over what are we teaching, how do we know that our kids have achieved it, and then what are we going to do differently, provide those interventions and supports that are happening. So that's on a weekly basis to just monitor our growth, as well as use the data that we have. So whether it's the spring, fall, winter, or spring, making some decisions based on what we find out from that data. Just a continual process, a fluid process to ensure that we're meeting those standards.
Okay, great, thank you. And my last comment is there's clearly so many great things going on at Ron that the Vikings got left off the list. So that's a clear indication of all the great things that are going on.
Thank you, Director Schatz. Any other comments? Director Chester.
It's more of a comment, just because I can personally attest as a parent of a current child at Ron, that it is a first-year parent at Ron, that you do bring out a very welcoming environment with your staff and your faculty, and even down to the custodial staff. I know my daughter has a first name basis with with the staff there. So I think that's been wonderful, and being able to participate in so many different events. I know that Principal Rob, your willingness to be silly is something that is certainly well received amongst the students. My daughter's highlight of the year so far is you getting slimed. So
I do what I can.
But and then there's a concerted effort just with February with I Love to Read Month. The amount of fun that was built around that to really encourage kids to enjoy reading or being part of reading. And, I think that was pretty amazing. And even being part of that readathon or whatever that was that day, that was really a great experience just for me personally, but then just seeing the highlight that it was for the students too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? No? Yeah. Director Courier?
A short description on the program called Conscious Discipline. I mean, what is it, or what makes it unique?
Yeah, so Conscious Discipline has been some work that's happened in our ECFE and ECSE program for the past several years. And we noticed that, once kids got out of the pre-K program and they come into the school, it was kind of dropped. So, but briefly, it's kind of an adult-focused learning. So how do we show up in situations? Are we calm? Are we using our breathing tactics? Are we using our skill and knowledge to support students as they may be struggling? So it's really just, it's important about us. So it's learning a lot about the brain and how it works and the different parts of it and where kids are at as they're working through like their, the reptilian part of their brain, right? And they haven't gotten this prefrontal cortex figured out yet, but we do. And so how do we support students through that process? More from a point of understanding students and seeking to understand versus you did this wrong. That's kind of the approach.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something to that? I think also in the adult learning portion of it, kind of recognizing we're expecting kids to act calm and behave calmly when they're upset. And you think about how we behave when we're upset, putting those kind of things into context and realizing that a lot of times we're asking students to do things that we don't even hold ourselves to. So changing our behavior and giving them a little more, meeting their needs rather than expecting them to comply in a way that's really not natural.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And my comment actually dovetails on Director Courier's. I appreciate the explanation and the additional illustration of conscious discipline because, Rachel, you had mentioned not disciplining, not punishing students. And I know that some people might hear that and might think one thing is not happening, as opposed to it looks different and you're being more proactive with what you're actually doing to try to reduce those instances in which a child might be in a position to need restorative justice.
Yes.
So thank you for that. And I made a note about the art pop-up event in November, so
Thank you.
please let us know. And again, the work that you're doing to connect with the Egan community is so greatly appreciated because I know that we have also been doing the same thing over the last couple of years. And so to know that, that you're connecting with city staff, the mayor, with the community, it just really helps to strengthen everything that we're all doing and letting the east side of our district know that we're as warm and embracing of them as any other part of our district. So thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cindy, did you have?
Just very quickly, I have been at Ron many, many times, and what really caught me in this presentation was the pictures that you chose to include. A lot of times we think about photos and pictures as just sort of making the page a little bit more interesting, but, and I pointed a few out to Chair Alt as we were watching, because what really struck me in these photos is how well they capture the spirit and the culture at Ron. And I just had to comment on that because I love them. And I just think that more than anything, they speak to what you've got happening in that building. So
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And
Thank you for your time.
enjoy your evening with the kids. All right, next, I'd like to invite Lisa Ryder, Executive Director of Business Services, to the podium. We will receive a report on fiscal 20 financial budget adjustments. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight is what I understand to be our final night in discussion of the list of adjustments for our fiscal year 20 budget adjustments. We began our conversations and discussions with the board in December, and then January and February have been a number of different meetings, whether they were workshops or board meetings themselves, to run through these lists. We have a summary page that I'm showing here, which is the general fund budget, and these conversations have really only focused around our general fund and have not necessarily been in reference to our food and nutrition, community ed, debt, or other funds that we have. But within the general fund, you see here the adopted budget for the current school year, 2018-2019, the revised budget for 2018-19, and then the last two columns are the projected for 1920 and the projected for 2021. We are assuming in our assumptions that the revenues have a 2% increase on the formula for 1920. This spreadsheet does not include an increase in the 2021 year. The expenditures have been increased by 3.5%, which is our trend formula, but then for 1920, we have then adjusted that amount for the list of budget adjustments of $6,574,009. The list has not changed since we last met with you. In total, it is the same. It is available also on the web for anyone interested in seeing it. There are a number of lines included in that list. The result of this leaves us with a projected unassigned fund balance of 6.1%, or just under $8 million. The next steps for us will be for us to move forward with this list of adjustments, and while building the line item budgets for the 1920 school year, take each of those items into consideration and adjust for that. That is the summary of where we are with the 1920 general fund budget adjustments.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Board members, any questions or comments? No? All right. We have had, Lisa, as you mentioned, many meetings. We wanted to make sure that all of us understood clearly what we were talking about, and we wanted to make sure that our community had the same information that we were working with. And I thank you and your staff and leadership as well for all of your work in getting us to this point. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right. Next, Sundus. We'd like to listen to your report.
I have a rather brief report today. So firstly, today at Burnsville High School, we had a career expo, or like a career fair, where there were many different booths of different people from different companies and a variety of organizations. This event was open to the student body, but focused specifically on sophomores and juniors so they could learn more about future careers and businesses and options they had outside of high school. On April 11th, we have a similar fair with a lot of different organizations, but it's for volunteering. So a lot of different organizations that focus on volunteering and help students foster volunteerism in their lifestyles will be at Burnsville High School, and they will discuss how students can volunteer with their companies and with their organizations. Spring sports are officially underway, and some winter sports are competing for state and other tournaments. Academics are in full force, and ACT exams and AP exams are underway, and students are working with their classmates and teachers to do well on those. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right, Superintendent Amoroso.
Thank you. I have a number of items for the board tonight, mostly focused on student success. The Burnsville High School Science Fair had students presenting their projects and papers in the Twin Cities Regional Science Fair, March 1st and 2nd in St. Paul. In total, 18 projects and 15 research papers advanced to the State Science Fair at the end of March. Just to give you an idea of the depth and breadth of work our students are doing, here are just a couple of their project titles. The relationship between soil porosity and the absorption of chemicals, the cellular effect on concentration, how temperature affects nonverbal communication, and the stability of an aircraft wing during descent. That one scares me a little bit, but it's fascinating. Students also won several special awards, and I want to call out one student in particular. Sophomore Osman Warfa not only qualified for state and won the Inspiring Excellence Award, he was also chosen to present his project at the International Science and Engineering Fair in Phoenix in May. This is one of the most prestigious events for high school science students. Congratulations to Osman and to all of our outstanding science students and their teachers. Next, a team that is no stranger to accolades is the Metcalf chess team, which won its 30th state championship earlier this month. And to any of my Rotary friends who are listening, yes, it's 30th and not 29th. Individual scorers included Gavin Kellen, who finished 8th, as well as Victor Ekstrand, J.J. Johnson, and Mitchell Kellen. In addition, it was recently announced that retired Metcalf math teacher and longtime Metcalf Middle School chess coach Brian Ribnick will be inducted into the Minnesota Chess Hall of Fame at a ceremony on May 12th. Brian has taught chess to Metcalf students for more than 40 years, coaching teams to those state championships that I mentioned, 19 scholastic chess championships, and several individual national titles. He has also been a leader in the Minnesota chess community, serving as coach for the state's junior high championship team, vice president for the School Chess Association, a member of the Minnesota State Chess Association Board of Directors, and as a member of the United States Chess Federation Scholastic Committee. He was also named Coach of the Year, State Coach of the Year in 2003. Congratulations to Coach Ribnick and to the Metcalf Chess Masters. Speaking of excellent staff members, the 2019 191 Community of Excellence Award winners were announced last week. As always, I am amazed and humbled by the amount of talent, professionalism, and dedication our staff demonstrate. There are 11 award winners this year, each contributing to our mission of each student, future ready, community strong. In the collaboration and partnership category, the winners are Katie Ness, Digital Learning Specialist at Sioux Trail Elementary, and Cindy Check, Early Childhood Coordinator for Community Education. In the community engagement category is Colleen Coleman, teacher at Burnsville High School. For excellence in educational support, we had Courtney Flobach, Youth Development Coordinator for Community Education, and Bob Weiler, the district's network administrator. For teaching excellence, this year's winners are Angela Bell and Adam Iverson, both teachers at Nicollet Middle School. For innovation, Lexi Wills, teacher at Hidden Valley Elementary. And for leadership and action, Katie Plain and Sarah Singletons, teachers at Sky Oaks Elementary. And this year's Spirit of Excellence Award goes to Usman Hussein, interventionist at Hidden Valley Elementary. Congratulations to all of this year's winners. We will be recognizing them with a reception and ceremony starting at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 9th in the Mraz Center at Burnsville High School. I invite everyone who is listening to that celebration. It's a celebration not only for our staff to attend, but also for our community in acknowledging and recognizing these outstanding staff members. Last week, Nicollet Middle School was recertified as an AVID National Demonstration School. For anyone who doesn't know, AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination, and it's an approach that helps students succeed now and prepare to succeed in college through skills development and creating a college-bound culture. Evaluators from AVID spent the day at Nicollet observing the practices of the entire school and making sure staff and students are being true to AVID practices. The process is rigorous, and there are only about 150 national demonstration schools out of more than 5,000 AVID schools across the country. Being recertified as a national demonstration school affirms all of the work Nicollet staff members are doing to support their students for future success. Nicollet literally serves as a model for schools around the nation that want to ensure their students are future ready. Congratulations to the entire staff, and especially to Principal Angie Pohl, AVID Site Coordinator Amy Smalley, and congratulations to Nicollet AVID students who helped make that day a success. I think we have a photo that we are sharing right now from that celebration. And congratulations again to everyone for all of their work and commitment to a program that makes a difference for our students. Lastly, one of my favorite events is going on right now, the Elementary Student Art Show, featuring work from students at all of our elementary schools. It is taking place currently through April 29th at the Ames Center right here in Burnsville, heart of the city. The exhibit features more than 100 selected pieces of artwork by students in kindergarten through 5th grade, including drawings, paintings, mixed media, and three-dimensional works. An opening reception was held on February 28th, and I thought we might share a short video from that reception, which gives you a sense of how proud the students are to have their artwork displayed.
Each elementary school was allowed to select pieces from their school, and depending on the population of the school, it could range from about 8 or 10 pieces to about 12 to 14 pieces of two-dimensional work, and then another 3 to 5 three-dimensional work.
I do a lizard, and it's collecting pollen, and then there's a lake, and then there's a falling log, and then there's a tree. So I decided to add clouds and falling log because that would be more interesting. Just trees.
This is a compilation of some of the best work that our elementary students have created, and we are so thrilled to have them on exhibition. Our kids are so excited, and this is an amazing opportunity for them to have their art in a real gallery.
I'm happy and proud of myself that I did this sketch. You already have it.
Again, I encourage any of you interested in taking a look at that display that is at the Ames Center through April. It's always fun to see the talent and the passion of our students, and with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you. And thanks also to our communications department for the wonderful videos that we enjoy. Board members, any reports from board members? Director Courier.
Yes, I have 4 of them, so
Please
I'll
go
give
right
it-
ahead.
Okay. This is on 9/17. The regular meeting of Intermediate District 917 was held on March 5th. The agenda always features a good news section, which highlights news from both the special education and career and technical programs. One that caught my attention is that one of our 917 students has been recruited by the Gallaudet University football program, which is a Division III school. Gallaudet specializes in deaf and hard of hearing students. This youngster has been in the 917 program from infancy on. Gideon Pond Elementary School houses the 917 elementary program, so he has probably spent some time in our district. One item of business approved by the 917 board included an agreement with Bloomington. Bloomington joined 917 a few years back. They used to be with Intermediate District 287, which is Hennepin County, but really geographically, they're closer to Dakota County, so they joined 917. And as of this coming fall, will now house a site program, TESSA, an acronym for Transitional Education Service Alternative. This program serves the 18 to 21-year-olds whose disabilities may include developmental cognitive disabilities or autism. The rest of the meeting in March was routine. I'm moving on to the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. That March meeting was held on Friday, March 1st. There were 2 presentations in the meeting. The first was by State Rep Dave Pinto, who gave a legislative update. I sent the AMSD draft priorities to you. For our viewing public, they are located on the AMSD website. The second was a presentation by 3 superintendents, Jay Haugen from Farmington, Carlton Jenkins from Robbinsdale, and Mike Redmond from Shakopee on e-learning days. There's more information on the AMSD website, but as we look at workshops and retreats ahead for us, we may want to add this to our agenda for discussion, given the weather we have had this winter and even tonight. Then I have finally started on my school visits, and I had visited Neal School. And on Thursday, March 7th, I had just a delightful afternoon. Not only did I learn a lot more about Neal School, I got to witness the 2nd and 3rd grade musical program entitled Best Self, Best Work, Best World, directed by music teacher Bonnie Tramby, who also directs a lot of the music for class acts. Congratulations to the students, their teachers, and Mrs. Tramby. There were lots of proud parents, grandparents, and friends in the audience, and that was the afternoon program. So you can imagine what the evening program was. And then I also attended on March 8th, I attended the MASA, Minnesota Association of School Administrators, Spring Conference Awards Ceremony, where our very own Superintendent Cindy Amoroso was awarded the K.E. Jacobs Memorial Award. As we noted in our last meeting, this Women's Award recognizes excellent leadership, which encompasses concern for students, involvement in professional and community affairs, as well as involvement in MASA and other educational organizations. As a special surprise, unbeknownst to Cindy, her husband Gary flew in her daughter Kelsey from Montana to witness the award. But weather again, Kelsey could only stay one night because the snowstorm was coming in and she had to get back to work in Montana, so she had to fly out.
And then we didn't get snow.
And then we didn't get snow. Anyway, So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Director Courier. Any other reports?
I have a short one.
Director Hume.
Since Director Courier didn't mention it, I will, that she and I had the pleasure of being judges at the Hidden Valley Science Fair earlier today and had a really good experience. There were some really good projects there that I'm sure will be at the high school science fair in a few years. So that was really great. And then that was the main thing I wanted to mention. Yes, that concludes my report for today.
Great, thank you very much. Any others? Nope. All right, I have one. This past Monday morning, along with other 191 staff, I attended a professional development session with Dr. John Gonzalez, member of the White Earth Anishinaabe Nation, psychology professor at Bemidji State, and ISD 31 Bemidji Area School Board member. The session was entitled Culturally and Identity Safe Classrooms, Culturally Relevant Pedagogy as a Win-Win. As cited in his bio, Dr. Gonzalez's work includes research in the areas of mental and behavioral health of Indigenous people and ethnic minorities, as well as community-based participatory research methods, which involve developing and building relationships with communities to work collaboratively to address the issues the community views as important. During the course of 3 hours, Dr. Gonzalez discussed topics including boarding schools designed historically as institutions for assimilating First Nation children, the consequent roots of distrust in public educational institutions among First Nation families, the presence or relative absence of First Nation knowledge, stories, and perspectives in American history and school curriculum, as well as research confirming the academic success of students who see themselves in their teachers, their coursework, and in the culture of their schools. We talked about his research into communal efficacy, in which students recognize that they have a place in their school, with the school identified as part of their community. Part of the success of communal efficacy, Dr. Gonzalez shared, is based on the fact that students have a clear understanding that their participation in school benefits them as individuals as well as their community. In other words, there is no conflict between the student's success and that of their community, which historically has not been the case for First Nation peoples. While Dr. Gonzalez noted that communal efficacy benefits all students, it more directly benefits First Nation students, students of color, and their families, given the cultural significance in identifying first as a member of a group and subsequently identifying one's individual self. It was a rich, thought-provoking presentation, and I would like to thank Dominic Goodbuffalo and our CISA department for making this opportunity available within 191 boundaries. This ends my report. And with that, we will turn to the business portion of our meeting. Turning to the consent agenda, although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. In the event a board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be moved for separate consideration. Is there anything that board members would like to separate? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Director Hume, seconded by Director Chester. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the motion carried. Turning to new business, we're being asked to take action on a reduction in board stipends of $100 less per month per board member. And just kind of keeping the introduction brief, we discussed this as part of the budget process, and in order for staff to move forward with everything, this is something that is required for us to take board action on as a part of policy. So we are bringing this forward today for the board to discuss and take action on. I will take a motion to approve the recommendation that the Board of Education approves a reduction in board stipends of $100 less per month per board member effective July 1st, 2019. Moved by Director Schatz, second.
Second.
Seconded by Director Chester. Do we have any discussion? Director Courier.
Since I'm the board historian, I just want to mention that I've been on the board now, I'm in my 11th year, and we've only had one increase in the board stipend in my time on the board, and that was in 2016, and it was the $100. So it's like rescinding that, so I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? All right. All those in favor of approving this recommendation, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right. Next, we will invite Stacy Sovine, Executive Director of Human Resources, to the podium. We are being asked to take action on seasonal, casual, and temporary employee rates of pay. Welcome, Stacy.
Good evening. Typically, we bring to you the casual wage scale in September or late August for approval. This year, we're needing to make some modifications on the casual wage scale for our summer school and extended year programming. So that's why we're bringing this to you at this point in time. Just for some of you folks, the casual wage scale are rates that are that we pay folks that we're identifying as a board policy that are not identified in any of our negotiated agreements. So you'll see a long laundry list here of different rates, hourly rates and such, that aren't identified in any of our other bargaining agreements, but we still have these roles and we still need to pay folks to fulfill these roles. As you'll notice, we are looking to eliminate extended year site coordinator rates for 9th grade elementary and elementary ESL, and we're including that as an hourly rate included with our PALS BYC site leads. So that's where we're rolling that into. Just so you understand, the way it was done before, we paid our site leads hourly, and then we paid them a stipend on top of that. And it's not cost effective for our summer school programming. So we're using a little bit of a different model going forward with this. Okay.
Great. Thank you. The recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the following rates of pay for the 2018-19 school year. Do I have a motion? Moved by Director Schatz. Second? Second. Seconded by Director Hume. Questions? Yes.
Just to clarify, Stacy, so these will only be effective through June of 19, and then you would come back with the 19-20 rates, or these rates would stay in effect into 19-20?
These rates will stay in effect until we change them.
Okay.
I probably will come back to you in the fall, staying with our annual
Yep.
tradition, and
Yep.
renew everything that we have here.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. All those in favor of approving this recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next, I believe Assistant Superintendent Gersich is up with some policies. First, we're being asked to approve on a first reading basis changes to policies 699, teaching about controversial issues, 621, educational research, and 624, online learning. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity here this evening. Dr. Mitchler was out of town, so unavailable to do this, and so I am filling in, but was present at the meeting for the subcommittee, or I'm sorry, the committee for the policy review, and we do have some changes for you. Just kind of articulating what those are, starting with policy 699, and all of these are relatively minor changes that we discussed at the meeting. Controversial issues, certainly it's an important part of the learning process, particularly for our secondary students, to be given the opportunity to debate and to learn about controversial issues, but certainly with that comes some need for guidelines to be able to support that. The recommendation for the change in this policy comes within Part 2, Section D. You'll notice in selecting those issues and guidelines for that, and you'll notice the recommendation is to strike Item 4, which says the issue should be of continuing significance. And I believe, if I'm articulating the conversation from the committee correctly, it really felt as though if those first three parameters are being met, and the item is developing techniques for controversial issues and discussion, it is suitable for the age and maturity level of the student, and it is relevant to the course objectives, that it does somewhat keep number 4 there irrelevant and a bit subjective. So again, that's the recommendation for that policy, as well as an additional cross-reference at the bottom to policy 606 for instructional resources. And those would be the changes recommended for policy 699. I believe policy 621 is the next one, educational research. Having been with 191 for 2.5 months, I've actually surprised at the number of requests we get from outside agencies, doctoral students within the education space and outside of it for research. And so again, this is an important policy for us. There are 2 recommended changes. The first one is just a grammatical change within Part B2, changing the word educational to education. And the second is an additional language at page 2, talking about the fact that those doing research need to adhere to our policy on protecting privacy of pupil records 515. This recommendation comes from some research by Dr. Mitchler, who found that this language did exist in other similar policies from other districts, thought it would be an appropriate addition to our policy as well. Outside of that, again, everything else here fairly well parallels the recommended MSBA policy. And then the last one for this section with changes would be policy 624, which relates to online learning options. Certainly a continued presence in public education is the options of online learning. Couple of changes there. First, in general statement of policy, Part C, it really was a matter of having some redundancy, which is what that is attempting to clean up a little bit. And portion G, was actually a bit of discussion, and I might invite any of the board members who were present if they wanted to offer to, some of the, not a substantive change in the policy, but more just kind of a tweak for interpretation is what G is getting at. And I think that would be, the only other changes for that policy. Otherwise, this one also parallels MSBA model language.
Great, thank you very much. I will take a motion to approve these policies on a first reading basis.
So moved.
Moved by Director Schott, second.
Second.
Seconded by Director Courier. Any comments or conversation? All right. I would like to note that it's great to hear that, it's interesting to hear that we are getting so many requests for research, because I remember that Superintendent Amoroso actually brought that policy to us, and it's obviously working well on our behalf. So thank you for that additional.
Yeah, if that is an additional policy, I would say it would be very difficult to operate without that right now because of the volume, and certainly we can't do all of them. As much as we'd like to support people doing research, we have limits with the ability to do that. So it's great to have that policy, so kudos for adding that.
Great, thank you. All those in favor of approving these policies, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And staying with Assistant Superintendent Gersich, we are being asked to approve on a first reading basis rescinding policy 629, alternative instruction.
And again, this also comes based on some research and a recommendation of Dr. Mitchler. Policy 629 is not an MSBA recommended or model policy. It is a local policy. And it's believed that we have policy 606, which talks about instruction that actually covers this material. So we believe it's an unnecessary redundancy within the policies. There are, again, language within policy 606, which as well as procedural attachments to that cover policy 629.
Great, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve this change?
So moved.
Moved by Director Courier, second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Chester. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. With that, I will take a motion for us to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Director Schott, second.
Second.
Seconded by Director Chester. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, let's